Everyone remembers The Matrix, Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump dominating 1980s conversation. Yet during that same decade, genuinely brilliant films played in limited theaters to sparse audiences, received mixed critical reviews, or disappeared completely from cultural consciousness despite possessing extraordinary artistic merit. These weren't mainstream blockbusters benefiting from massive marketing budgets or cultural hysteria. These were films that genuinely impressed specific audiences while the majority completely overlooked them. Many of these films have subsequently become cult classics, gaining devoted followings through streaming access and home video circulation. Others remain perpetually overlooked despite genuine brilliance, buried beneath algorithmic recommendations promoting mainstream alternatives. The 1990s represented a transitional moment when independent cinema possessed genuine theatrical viability, when regional filmmakers could secure distribution without corporate studio apparatus, when artistic vision occasionally superseded commercial calculation. Today we're excavating 10 extraordinary films from that era that absolutely should have achieved far greater recognition during initial release. These films demonstrate that the 1990s contained far more cinematic brilliance than most people realize, hidden beneath layers of commercial mediocrity and mainstream preference. 1. The Last Seduction, 1994. Director John Dawes. The Last Seduction represented dark noir revival, arriving before mainstream neo-noir resurgence transformed crime cinema. The film maintained intricate plot developments and genuine unpredictability throughout. David Mamet's stylistic influence evident in layered deception and character double crosses. Linda Fiorentino delivered career-defining performance as Bridget, a manipulative femme fatale embodying classic noir archetype through modern context. Rather than repositioning noir conventions into contemporary settings superficially, Dawes synthesized classic noir visual language with contemporary psychological sophistication. The narrative depicted white-collar crime, sexual manipulation, and moral corruption through protagonists succeeding repeatedly through deception. Audiences expected karmic resolution, where deception generated consequences. Instead, Dahl presented protagonists escaping entirely through superior intelligence and ruthless commitment toward personal advantage. The film's refusal providing moral resolution disturbed audiences expecting traditional narrative justice. Critics dismissed The Last Seduction upon release as minor noir exercise, yet the film possessed genuine artistic sophistication that later critical reassessment recognized as exceptional achievement. What distinguished the film involved genuine darkness regarding human nature, characters motivated by self-interest rather than circumstantial pressure. The cinematography employed noir conventions effectively, shadows and composition, suggesting moral ambiguity permeating seemingly legitimate circumstances. The dialogue maintained sharp wit combined with psychological accuracy, characters revealing motivation through verbal exchange rather than convenient exposition. Fiorentino's performance conveyed genuine intelligence behind manipulative behavior, audiences observing genuine competence rather than theatrical villainy. 2. Living in Oblivion, 1995. Tom DiCillo's Living in Oblivion functioned as meta-commentary regarding independent film production chaos. The narrative depicting one hectic day on film set from 3 different perspectives while blurring lines between dreams and movie-making. The film employed ensemble cast, including Steve Buscemi, Catherine Keener, Dermot Mulroney, and Peter Dinklage in his cinematic debut. Rather than traditional narrative structure, DiCillo employed fractured storytelling, examining filmmaking logistics and interpersonal dynamics beneath apparent order. The film depicted genuine frustrations emerging from low-budget production, equipment failures, performer conflicts, and creative compromises accumulating throughout single shooting day. What made Living in Oblivion genuinely remarkable involved its genuine humor emerging from authentic filmmaking chaos rather than forced comedic situations. Audiences familiar with production realities recognized portrayed difficulties as accurate observations. The film also succeeded as character study, extended runtime permitting genuine character development, enabling viewers understanding performers' motivations beneath surface conflicts. Living in Oblivion demonstrated that comedy emerged from authentic commitment toward depicted reality rather than artificial comedic setups. The film received critical appreciation from film industry professionals, recognizing accuracy, yet mainstream audiences struggled engaging with insider humor, requiring specific filmmaking knowledge. Despite limited theatrical distribution, the film subsequently achieved cult status through home video circulation, audiences discovering genuine brilliance buried beneath commercial obscurity. 3. Clockers, 1995. Spike Lee's Clockers represented one of his most overlooked releases throughout 1990s, examining drug distribution systems through protagonist-dealer confronting moral complexity of criminal existence. The film departed from Lee's typical directorial approach, instead employing noir sensibilities and crime narrative conventions. Rather than presenting simplistic good versus evil morality, Lee explored systemic desperation, creating criminal participation despite awareness regarding personal danger. The narrative examined how economic marginalization generated circumstances where drug distribution offered only viable economic opportunity for young men lacking educational access or employment prospects. The film depicted genuine sociological complexity, suggesting criminality represented rational response to systemic exclusion, rather than moral failure indicating individual weakness. What distinguished Clockers involved Lee's commitment toward depicting criminal psychology with genuine empathy rather than moral judgment. Characters possessed comprehensible motivations, their criminal participation representing survival strategy rather than entertainment choice. The film employed sophisticated cinematography examining urban landscape, visual language suggesting environmental determination, shaping character choices. Yet Clockers received minimal theatrical promotion. Commercial performance disappointing despite critical recognition of artistic merit. The film subsequently gained appreciation through critical retrospectives recognizing Lee's sophisticated social commentary and artistic achievement, initially overlooked upon release. 4. Eve's Bayou, 1997. Eve's Bayou, directed by Casey Lemons, presented family dysfunction explored through young protagonist perspective. The narrative employing supernatural elements suggesting psychological rather than literal manifestation. The film featured distinguished casts including Samuel L. Jackson, Lynn Whitfield, and Jurnee Smollett. Rather than conventional family drama, Lemons employed gothic atmosphere, suggesting Louisiana setting possessed psychological rather than geographic significance. The narrative examined infidelity, family loyalty, and parental revelation viewed through child consciousness, comprehending adult complexity gradually. The film refused explaining supernatural imagery explicitly, instead suggesting psychological states manifested through fantastical visualization. What distinguished Eve's Bayou involved genuine emotional authenticity beneath atmospheric surface, characters expressing genuine pain through family betrayal rather than performative melodrama. The cinematography employed rich colors and sensual imagery, creating atmosphere, emphasizing emotional intensity rather than explicit depiction. Lemon's directorial approach suggested sophisticated understanding regarding how psychological trauma manifested through subjective perception rather than objective documentation. Despite artistic merit, the film received limited theatrical distribution, audiences discovering genuine brilliance primarily through home video circulation and later streaming access. 5. Bottle Rocket, 1996. Wes Anderson's Bottle Rocket represented earliest directorial achievement. The film marked on-screen debut for both Owen and Luke Wilson and subsequently launched creative partnerships, defining Anderson's subsequent career. The narrative depicted two young criminals executing amateurish criminal spree without genuine planning or professional competence. Rather than depicting glamorous criminality, Anderson portrayed bumbling criminals whose schemes possessed minimal success probability. The film employed understated comedy, humor emerging from characters' earnest commitment toward doomed enterprise rather than forced comedic situations. What distinguished Bottle Rocket involved genuine tenderness underlying criminal narrative, characters possessing genuine affection despite criminal partnership. Anderson suggested that companionship and loyalty possessed meaning independent of objective success, two characters' friendship surviving their criminal incompetence. The visual style established Anderson's signature aesthetic, employing symmetrical framing, deliberately artificial environments, and deliberately mannered performance style. Despite critical appreciation from industry professionals, including Martin Scorsese naming it among his favorite films of 1990s, mainstream audiences struggled engaging with Anderson's distinctive approach. The film received limited theatrical distribution. Anderson's subsequent mainstream success permitting retrospective appreciation, recognizing Bottle Rocket as genuinely innovative achievement, establishing directorial voice. 6. Red Rock West, 1993. Nicolas Cage and Dennis Hopper starred in Red Rock West, a crime thriller initially bound for straight-to-video distribution before cinema owners' genuine enthusiasm prompted theatrical release decision. The narrative depicted Cage's protagonist mistaken for hitman by local businessman requesting wife's elimination. When genuine killer subsequently arrives, complex cat-and-mouse game emerges between all parties. Rather than conventional action thriller, director John Dahl crafted sophisticated crime narrative employing Wyoming landscape, providing visual atmosphere, complementing psychological tension. The film examined mistaken identity consequences, protagonist desperately attempting convincing locals regarding genuine confusion, while killer pursued him mercilessly. What distinguished Red Rock West involved genuine intelligence regarding character motivation, participants possessing comprehensible reasons for criminal behavior rather than theatrical villainy. Dahl employed landscape effectively, remote setting emphasizing protagonist isolation, wilderness suggesting external danger complementing human threats. The collaboration between Cage and Hopper generated unexpected chemistry, Hopper's killer creating genial menace transcending typical genre, villain archetype. Despite critical appreciation, initial commercial indifference forced video distribution, relegating film to obscurity. Subsequent home video success gradually elevated film status, contemporary reassessment recognizing genuine achievement previously overlooked. 7. The Spanish Prisoner, 1997. David Mamet's The Spanish Prisoner employed classic con game framework. Steve Martin performing con man character, attempting defrauding corporate engineer through sophisticated confidence scheme manipulation. Rather than conventional crime narrative, Mamet explored how psychological manipulation transcended financial deception, confidence artists targeting victim psychology rather than mere money. The film employed intricate plot structure, maintaining genuine unpredictability, audiences uncertain regarding deception extent as narrative progressed. Mamet's dialogue conveyed sophisticated vocabulary and complex sentence structure, conversations proceeding through layered meaning and deliberate obfuscation. What distinguished The Spanish Prisoner involved genuine intellectual engagement regarding deception mechanics, audiences actively interpreting character motivation, and genuine versus false information. The film refused conventional exposition, instead demanding active audience participation interpreting incomplete information. Steve Martin delivered exceptional performance in serious role, actor demonstrating genuine dramatic range transcending comedic reputation. Mamet's directorial approach prioritized psychological complexity over action spectacle, demanding audiences value intellectual engagement. Despite critical appreciation, mainstream audiences struggled engaging with Mamet's deliberately complex approach, the film receiving limited theatrical success. Contemporary reassessment recognized genuine brilliance beneath surface complexity. The film, achieving cult status through appreciative audiences, discovering sophisticated psychological exploration. 8. Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai, 1999. Jim Jarmusch's Ghost Dog. The Way of the Samurai ingeniously combined mafia and samurai film elements, protagonist adhering to venerable samurai code while functioning as mob hitman, creating unique blend of Eastern ethos and Western gangster aesthetic. The narrative examined how Eastern philosophy manifested through Western criminal context. Protagonist maintaining samurai honor code despite operating as an organized crime enforcer. Rather than depicting contradiction between samurai ethics and criminal behavior, Jarmusch suggested both systems embodied honor concepts transcending specific cultural context. The film employed deliberate visual style, emphasizing geometric composition and formal arrangement. Jarmusch's aesthetic, suggesting philosophical precision underlying surface content. The soundtrack employed Wu-Tang Clan music, hip-hop sensibility interweaving with samurai philosophy, creating unexpected artistic synthesis. What distinguished Ghost Dog involved genuine philosophical depth beneath genre framework, the film exploring honor concepts across cultural boundaries. Forrest Whitaker delivered meditative performance suggesting inner spiritual commitment, actor conveying genuine philosophical engagement through minimal dialogue. Jarmusch's directorial approach prioritized contemplative pacing over action spectacle, audiences experiencing meditation regarding honor and loyalty rather than conventional crime narrative excitement. Despite artistic merit, limited theatrical distribution and challenging pacing prevented mainstream accessibility, the film receiving cult status through appreciative audiences valuing philosophical depth and artistic innovation. 9. Run, Lola Run, 1998. Tom Tykwer's Run, Lola Run left strong mark on cinema landscape with unconventional storytelling format, innovative narrative technique offering refreshing perspective through daring and creative approach, despite often being overlooked for its inventive methodology. The narrative depicted protagonist racing against time, attempting acquiring money for lover's life or death circumstance, 3 separate scenarios presenting different timeline variations. Rather than conventional linear narrative, Tykwer employed multiple timeline structure, suggesting quantum possibility implications. Each scenario maintained fundamental framework while introducing minor variation, generating completely different outcomes. The film employed distinctive visual style, combining live action with animated sequences, graphic novel aesthetic, conveying dream-logic sensibility. The soundtrack employed electronic music, creating urgency, complementing protagonists' desperate racing. What distinguished Run Lola? Run involved genuine artistic innovation regarding narrative structure, audiences experiencing philosophical contemplation regarding choice and consequence alongside action excitement. The film suggested that infinitesimal variations generated profound consequences, life trajectories branching unexpectedly from minute circumstantial differences. Tykwer's directorial approach prioritized visual innovation over conventional dialogue exposition, narrative meaning conveyed through visual language and editing rather than verbal explanation. Despite artistic merit, unconventional approach prevented mainstream accessibility, audiences struggling engaging with formal experimentation. Subsequently, the film achieved cult status through appreciative audiences valuing experimental narrative structure and philosophical depth. 10. Event Horizon, 1997. Paul W. S. Anderson's Event Horizon presented science fiction horror set in 2047 depicting mysterious spaceship reappearance after 7 years vanishing, featuring something sinister inhabiting the vessel. The film starred Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill investigating spaceship interior, discovering vessel possessed mysterious consciousness. Rather than conventional sci-fi thriller, Anderson employed psychological horror, emphasizing protagonist's psychological deterioration alongside external threat. The narrative suggested dimensional rifts permitted malevolent forces accessing human space, spaceship functioning as gateway between realities. What distinguished Event Horizon involved genuine philosophical depth regarding consciousness and dimensional existence beyond conventional science fiction parameters. The film employed deliberate visual style, employing industrial aesthetic, suggesting technology transcending human comprehension. The cinematography employed darkness and shadow effectively, audiences experiencing genuine disorientation, matching protagonist experience. Anderson's directorial approach prioritized psychological complexity over action spectacle. Audiences experiencing genuine horror regarding unknown threats rather than conventional alien monster excitement. Despite artistic merit, mainstream audiences struggled engaging with unconventional approach, initial commercial failure relegating film to obscurity. Yet subsequent critical reassessment recognized genuine brilliance beneath surface excess. the film achieved cult status among audiences appreciating psychological depth and philosophical complexity. Event Horizon demonstrated that science fiction possessed capacity exploring existential dread through fantastic framework when approached with genuine artistic ambition. How many of these 1990s hidden gems have you actually experienced? And how many have completely disappeared from your viewing consciousness despite genuine brilliance? Which of these overlooked films will become your next streaming selection? The discovery pulling you away from algorithmic recommendations towards cinema's forgotten achievements. Comment below, revealing which of these underrated 1990s films you've watched and which deserve immediate rediscovery. Better yet, tell me which genuinely brilliant 1990s film should have made this list. Which overlooked masterpiece you believe possesses equal artistic merit alongside these already exceptional entries. The 1990s produced extraordinary cinema that mainstream audiences never encountered, theatrical releases receiving minimal distribution, critical appreciation failing generating commercial success. These 10 films represent genuine artistic achievement deserving far greater recognition than they received during initial release. Sound off regarding your favorite overlooked 1990s cinema because, honestly, rediscovering these hidden gems proves infinitely more valuable than rewatching the same mainstream blockbusters everyone encountered repeatedly.